Today we're learning the Hozier song Too Sweet, a song famously written about McDonald's iced teas. We're going to do an acoustic version of it, and it's going to sound like this. You know, it's getting a little bit of the original vibe along with the chords. All right, we're going to do it with a capo, then without a capo, talk a little bit about how it's arranged. It's really just a single loop of 5 different chords. So again, we'll start easy, capo on the 3rd fret, E minor. How easy is that, right? Let's go through the chords first, and then we'll talk a little bit about how to make it sound kind of like a hybrid of an acoustic version and the original version. All right, so E minor, open, 2-2, open, 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 relative to the capo. Now, to kind of get the vibe of this, I'm mostly going to be playing the lower strings of it, and I am going to palm mute a little bit. You can do that if you want. You don't have to do that, but it kind of makes it sound like the vibe, right? So, first chord is E minor. That's going to go to a G major, 3-2, open, open. I like to get the one with the 3rd fret on the D string, or the B string relative to the capo, which is a D note. Now I'm using this fingering, which we'll talk about in a second. Then from here we're going to go to C major with the G in the bass. So 3-3-2, open, 1, open. And then we're going to get a D chord, which is just open, 2, 3. We don't have to get a full D major. I think this kind of D sus2 works a little better for the purposes of what we're doing. And then B7, which is just 2 on the A string, 1 on the D string, 2 on the G string. Okay, so those are the chords. E minor, G, C, D, or we'll do another D to B7, E. Okay, so let's start incorporating a little bit of that bass line. So really we have open, 2, 3. So we're walking our way to that G chord. Now when we do it with the chord, it sounds like this. Now you'll notice that I'm really just getting like the lowest 3 strings because it's getting more of the bass sound of the bass or the baritone guitar, whatever's going on in that track. But we're gonna just kind of get that open, 2, 2. And you can kind of see I'm muting it with my palm right here. Bum, 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 bum. And again, if you're using your fingers or a pick, I do think that the downstrokes mostly kind of get the percussive element of that. See how I'm gonna do that? Now to get that 2nd fret, I'm really keeping that E minor there, and then moving my middle finger to the 2nd fret on the E string. Da 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 da. And to do it that way, that's why I'm using the ring finger leading voice of G major instead of the middle finger voice. Again, it's all contextual, because eventually we're going to go to a C major chord, which I just think it's easier to do that than this. Okay, however you want to get there, it's up to you. You know, we're not judging here. This is just how we're kind of doing an acoustic version of it. You can also flame me for not doing the bass line exactly correct, because this isn't a down-tuned guitar, etc., etc. I'll take it. I'll take the engagement in the comments. That's what we're here for. E minor, G, and then from here, relative to the capo, to get to that C, we're gonna walk it A, then B, then relative to the capo. So we're really just going through the scale, believe it or not. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. Again, this would be in the key of E minor, G major, relative to the capo. I know, we'll talk about the non-capo version in just a second when we're getting there. So we're going bass lines, tracking to the next chord. Open, 2 to C. So then we're going to go from the C to a D chord to a B7. right? So we're essentially splitting that fourth bar into part of a D chord, part of a B7 chord. Now, the reason I like kind of doing it with these fingers, my pinky on the 3rd fret of the B string and my ring finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, is because this to this is super easy, right? D major, B7, and then a dominant 7 chord always leads you back to what it's the 5 of. We can count backwards through if B is 5, B, A, G, F, E gets you to E minor, okay? So, whole thing again, E, F sharp, G, G, A, B, C, D, B7, E. Now you notice that last one, I actually like this a lot. So again, this is just an acoustic version of the song, an interpretation, if you will. We're gonna take that C/G, 3, 3, 2, open, 1, open, and then just slide it 2 frets higher. This will be a D relative to the capo, back to the B7. Remember, 2 on the A string, 1, D. You can also get 2 on the high E string if you're really fancy. See how that leads to E minor. Cool? So that's a good way to incorporate that bass line. Bum 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 ba da bum ba da 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 A B. Again, it pretty much uses all the notes in that scale. So now let's talk about how this is numbered, because chord numbers are always a great way to remember stuff, right? So if this is in the key of B minor or the key of G, which essentially are the same key, we'd have a 6, 1, 4, 5, then maybe like a 3 major 7 chord, right? So 6, 1, 4, 5, 3 as a dominant 7, back to 6, E minor, all right? Let's take the capo off. Here we go. For those of you ambitious enough to do this, we're going to use the real names of the chords. Again, you know, E minor is the name of the shape essentially relative to the capo, but the actual chord is G minor. Okay, so you can do this a couple different ways. You can do this with the bar chord and kind of use your finger as a capo if you want. I do think, though, that playing with bar chords and getting that 6 chord, walking it to the 1 chord, you can kind of do a little bit more with the full bar chord versions, right? And I think it opens up the acoustic guitar a little more, because let's talk about the chords and how we can actually get lower and extend the range below the capo, right? So now the chords are G minor, 3, 5, 5, 3, 3, 3, B flat major. Again, I'm just barring the 6th fret, so 6, 8, 8, 7, 6, 6. And then we're gonna walk this all the way to E flat major, 6 on the A string, 8, 8, 8 on the DGB strings. Then you can get that high 6 if you want. And then we're gonna go lower to F major, and then we're gonna turn it around by going to what's the 5 of G, G, A, B, C, D, D7. Open 2, 1, 2 from the top. Okay, so now the chords are G minor, B flat major, E flat, and then F and D7 share that last bar. So the 6th chord. Now what I like to do here is actually just use octaves. So what I'm going to do is go. See, I think that sounds a little fuller, and that is an advantage of using a bar chord. And you may even be like, Sean, this still doesn't sound low enough, because actually when we go to the E flat, that's how you're going to differentiate the main sound of the actual track to a standard tuned guitar, because you can definitely tell when that bass line is going bum 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 ba dum bum ba da 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 da. You hear it go lower, but again, it's going to an E flat. So either the guitar is tuned down a step, or it's like a baritone guitar or something like that. It's hard to tell just from listening to it, but we're actually going below the range. You can just retune your guitar if you want to tune down half step and then move all of these half step down, but that is the main difference between even playing with bar chords in the original version, which sounds great. Production's awesome on this song, right? So I like to do this octave thing, where I'm going to go from that G minor, and remember that we get that A note, that 5th fret. So instead of using chords, we can thicken the sound of it by adding an octave where it's like 5E and 7D. And again, for this one, we're going from the B flat, and then we're going to go a full step to connect it to the E flat. And you can do this either on the same string, so the 6th fret, 8, 10, and then get to 6 on the A string, or you could just go jump strings down. Which would just be a 3rd fret on the A string, 5th fret on the G string, 5A, like that. There's the E flat. And again, that's the entire song. Really fun one to play. And remember, to kind of get more of that dynamic of it, because it is just the same loop over and over again, you want to be able to take the song on a journey. And when it's like the real song, it's a little bit easier because you have a bunch of instruments you can kind of insert, take out. When you're just using an acoustic guitar, you have to rely a little bit on your dynamics and the tricks of like palm muting. Maybe you can just do it with power chords. See, I'm kind of just using power chords, and then maybe as I was going through the song, then maybe bring in a little bit, just more strings, really. But anyways, super cool song. Thanks for watching. If you want to learn just how to play guitar, you check out my Patreon, because I have hundreds of lessons that are both song lessons and the beginning ground up approach to learning guitar and all the music theory. Kind of like how I said this is just a 6, 1, 4, 5, 3. That's a great thing that everybody should know, because it makes songs so much easier to learn. So check out the Patreon if you want to learn that stuff. And thank you for watching.